now tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
All right, folks. My apologies for the lack of audio. I think we're back. All right, can everybody hear me? All right. Okay. Let's get it. All right, folks, I think we have audio now. Okay, beautiful. My apologies. I didn't do anything with the audio, so I didn't even I didn't even think to check it. It should have been okay. But anyway, thank you, Jonathan. Sai, good morning, Kay, Melita. You guys would not have heard my morning greetings. So good morning to Melita. Good morning, Olivia. Buenos dias. John Wick, how you doing, honey? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I was just saying that it's hard to believe that today is already November the 30th. And over the weekend, just yesterday, I was listening to a show about the Cayman Islands. I was watching this show, like one of those house hunter shows that you see like in HGTV or whatever. And this couple was looking for to take up new residence here. They were actually looking for a property to purchase. And they were, the guy said he'd gotten a job at the vet school, and it was like a slower pace for him and his family. And they were really looking forward to, moving here for the sun, sand, and sea or whatever. And the most interesting part of the show for me was the fact that they had a segment where they went out and they got a taste of conch ceviche and, marinated conch is what Caymanians would call it. And so the whole podcast was like, the whole segment of that was like, these are the key ingredients in it. It has a real kick to it. And, this is how it's made. And the person who was giving them let me adjust my camera slightly. There we go. The person who was actually giving them this tutorial happens to have been a chef, looks like from the UK, probably from the Ritz or some other property. And I thought to myself, that's the kind of thing that every single true Caymanian seaman or chef knows how to make. And so why they couldn't find a local to do that little 2-minute segment to show people who we are and to celebrate, the uniqueness of our Indigenous people, I was really quite surprised by. We were watching it online, so I don't know if it was a recent episode or if it was a repeat or whatever. But there are times when you recognize that the Cayman Islands has lost its sense of who the Indigenous population is. I know that by numbers, we're definitely outnumbered, but we're even outnumbered in terms of representation. Like you could never go to Jamaica. I mean, honestly, I've never seen a show about Jamaica where someone's talking about, okay, jerk chicken, like this is a Jamaican staple, or ackee codfish, the national dish of Jamaica. You would never see a show where that sort of thing happens, where they're giving a quick little tutorial, like these are the ingredients and this is what makes this unique and whatever. And that being done by anybody else but a Jamaican. I mean, seriously, it would be a beyond insulting, and it just wouldn't happen. And here we are in the Cayman Islands. Every single time I see us being represented, we are being represented by foreign interests, and I have nothing. Listen, I'm married to a foreigner. This time, the time before, I've got American family, friends, we've got people in the UK too, and all over the place, Cuba, everywhere. But that doesn't mean that when my country is being represented and when someone comes here to get the initial flavors, and it kind of got me to thinking about why so many times when foreigners do come to the Cayman Islands, they can't integrate, because I'm thinking their very first experience and their very first taste of all things Caymanian wasn't even by a Caymanian. So of course they're thinking, oh, wow, this place is run by the British, or it's run by the Americans, or it's run by the Jamaicans. It's like everybody but the Caymanians get to have a role to play in this country. And it's just very, very odd, and it's very, very peculiar. So good morning to Jake. I see you're up and early. Hi, Anna. Marcia Gay's here. Sai, of course, is joining us from Fort Lauderdale. Thank you, Jonathan. Irvelyn doesn't skip a beat. Jess and Roxanne are both here. Kay is here as well. Miss Beulah, thank you. And of course, the beautiful Carol is here. So we got a couple jackasses to talk about this morning. It's like, is there no end to the list of jackasses? Apparently not. So we're going to talk about that this morning for sure. Corrine, thank you so much. Happy Monday to you as well. So this is the last day of November, and then we enter the Christmas season, and we'll start to talk about some of the good things that are coming up for Christmas. There's a few celebrations and stuff. Irvelyn says, my friend and I spoke about this yesterday because I cooked her ackee and saltfish. Yes. I mean, ackee and saltfish is, honestly, the national dish of Jamaica. And even myself, when I was like, okay, the husband Jamaican now, so we better learn how to cook ackee. So I don't always cook it often, but I better know how to cook it. So the first time I thought, all right, I'm going to give my hand a twirl at this ackee dish. I go to YouTube and there's all sorts of recipes up there. And there's a lady named Miss Faye, I forget her last name now. Her and her daughter do a YouTube channel. And their channel is called Caribbean something. No, I am a Jamaican, I think. I think it's called, it's called Cook Like a Jamaican. Yes, Cook Like a Jamaican. She has a website and she has a fabulous YouTube channel. And her recipes are really, really good. I mean, I love looking at her stuff. And so she's good. There's just common folks like Yardie Belly. Yardie Belly show you how he's a yardie and him cook him dumpling. And, he's going to throw it in a pot and, he's not fancy. He's got nothing, but he's authentic. Like he said, him named Yardie Belly, and you're going to get the real deal. And I appreciate that. I'm not going to go watch, even on YouTube, I'm not going to watch a YouTube video with an English person telling me how to cook ackee and codfish or how to roll a dumpling spinner. I'm like, no, these are Caribbean things. If it's a Trini dish, I want to see a Trini make it. And so I remember watching this one for ackee and codfish, both Miss Cook Like a Jamaican, she's good. And then sometimes I watch more than one to get a little flavor for how people add different types of seasoning and stuff. And there was this guy there from the Institute of Culinary, whatever, big high time school. And I want to say it might be an American school, but it's a big culinary school, right? And so they have a whole ackee demonstration video. And who do you think is there? Yes, the American is there being represented. I think he was American. He was there being represented from the culinary school. But you know who was giving the lesson? A Jamaican chef. And he was explaining the history of what ackee is, why, the Jamaican people, it's like they use it for every single meal. And he's like, yeah, it kind of looks like eggs to maybe the American, but, ackee, we can have it for breakfast. We can have it for lunch, or we can have it for dinner. It is our national dish. And there are some essential elements to it for Jamaicans, which include, of course, the Scotch bonnet pepper. And, the other dude was like, oh, tell us about the Scotch bonnet. And he's like, whoa, this is a staple ingredient for a lot of her Jamaican dishes. And that's what you like to see. And that makes total sense that a national dish should be brought to you by a Jamaican, right? Or whatever nationality it is. If I go to the Philippines, I don't want to see someone cooking their national dish. They have a thing called, I think it's called balut. Balut. You have to forgive me for mispronouncing it. But that is as the duck egg that is kind of steamed but not fully cooked. It's an embryo egg. Well, it's cooked, but when they eat it, you're actually tasting the embryo, and sometimes you get feathers and everything in your mouth. And that's a Filipino thing. That's an Asian dish. I don't expect to see anybody else cooking that. And, again, when you look at all the videos, I love HGTV. It's one of my favorite stations to watch. And when I watch people go to Spanish countries, if they go to Spain and they stop into a restaurant, there's Spanish people working in that restaurant. If they have a little demo of something, a dance or whatever, it's the native people doing that. Only in the Cayman Islands do you feel that, or do you see that we actually go out there and find somebody else to put our heritage on demonstration. It's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. So Michael says Cayman is too affluent to be truly represented by its indigenous people. And that's a shame. If that's our excuse, we better get with the program, because that's really not a very good reason at all. But I totally get what Michael is saying. Now, listen, I don't know if you guys didn't catch the show. We did a couple live streams over the weekend. Sometimes we have to address certain things on this program. We don't always want to, but we do have to address people. And as it goes, the name of this podcast is The Cold Hard Truth. And Cayman Road doesn't really take any prisoners as such. We just tell you like it is. And you don't have to like it. We don't have to be friends. That's A-okay. We're not looking for no more friends. I have enough of those. But at the end of the day, when things go down and when things happen, you have a sense of appreciation for the truth. And there should always be a sense of appreciation for the truth. I really appreciated the persons who came on Thursday to court and spoke the truth. And they said, yes, they respect the judge's ruling because they were not there to question his ruling. Although a number of them still said the ruling, they didn't understand the ruling, and the ruling didn't really make any sense to them per se. But they basically said, listen, the truth is everybody in this country knows what Sandy said. Sandy doesn't get up and lie. I'm not here to deceive you people. It is what it is. And so over the weekend, we had to do some truth telling on more than one occasion with a lady by the name of Carrie Tibbetts. Now, I don't know if you guys know Carrie or not, but she likes to take every opportunity she can to kind of take a jab at me personally, but I don't feel special. Although she seems to have an unnatural obsession about me, I don't really feel special because she does it with a lot of people. It's like once you're on her radar, then it is what it is. And so anyone who disagrees with her, she has a page called I Am Caymanian. I Need to Get a Life is what it should be called. And at the end of the day, she, likes to share links from other people and whatever. I think she's got about 800 followers or 800 page likes. I don't even know. But, she decided to take a swipe at me. Yeah, she needs to go to jail for 6 months. And hello, what she did that for? Anyway, in her process of taking a swipe at me, there are people who, listen, I got the haters, and then I got 20 times that amount in fans. And I really appreciate you guys who fall on the fan side of things. And a few people came out and they were like, really? Are you kidding me? And maybe tomorrow we'll go through some of the comments. I did see a number of the comments on even the Compass page where people are like her, hate her, whatever. This seems very fundamental. Like this isn't right when it comes to freedom of speech, and criminalizing something that was said feels wrong to so many people on a lot of different levels. So we can talk about that later on, but listen to me. I'm not trying to say a whole lot because I'm waiting until the verdict comes down in 10 days time. And then after that, we can have a go at this conversation and we can talk about it from now until infinity. But, Carrie kind of came at me, and a few people sent me the post because she felt it was necessary to actually promote the post. So she's paid for people to see that post about me. And so I had to respond to her. And, that was Saturday morning for those of you who caught it. And yes, it was some truth telling. And it is what it is. And, somebody sent me a very long video yesterday. Not a video, but a message saying, who is this Carrie woman? They're like, honestly, at the end of the day, she's so irrelevant to so many of us. And I said, absolutely. I mean, I don't waste time on a whole lot of irrelevant things. But what I will say is sometimes you do have to address people and then just keep it moving. Say what you got to say, bam, drop your bomb, your truth bombs, and keep moving. And I kind of felt like that's what we had to do with her. Now, last night, what happened was she also went after a few people. So there was like Allison, that she deleted her comment. Basically, anyone who didn't agree with her post that I needed to go to jail, or anyone who said, hold on a second, let's think about this in a wider context, they were deleted and blocked from her page. That's what she does. She's not into entertaining any other opinions but her own. So she blocked Allison and a young lady by the name of Cindy. Now, Cindy is just like us. She's an indigenous Caymanian from Georgetown, Windsor Park area. You know, the real deal, folks. All right. She not no foo-foo Caymanian. Okay. So you get what you get. Blouse and skirts and the whole 9 yards. So anyway, Cindy decided to do a response to this woman who she took a turn on her on Saturday because Cindy again was trying to make some supportive comments. And she started saying all sorts of nasty things about Cindy, how, oh, you know, Cindy had to come begging her for assistance and Cindy's on NAU and all this kind of stuff. And Cindy felt it necessary to respond. Now, let me say something about Cindy. None of us are perfect. Am I perfect? Hell to the no. Is Cindy perfect? Hell to the no. Nobody is perfect. But Cindy is a young lady. She's a mother of 4. She's a young mother of 4. She works hard, right? When Cindy can get a job, she's going to get up, come hell or high water. She's not one of those Caymanians going to lie down and give you excuses. She's actually going to get up and go to work every single day. There was a time when Cindy was working for a local salon, and I had assisted her in getting that job. And Cindy was working 6 days a week, 12-hour days, hardly any breaks. Her employer wasn't paying her pension. I'm trying to remember if she was paying insurance, but we know for sure she wasn't paying her pension because she recently, years later, got her couple pension dollars through this employer, finally paying it into a pension fund. But Cindy would get up and go to work. And the only time that Cindy, at first she didn't have a car, that she missed work is there was some situation with transportation and she was late. So she didn't even miss work. You know, so I don't give our Caymanians a blight when we don't do the right things, when we're not holding up our end of the bargain. But at the same time, I can't fault people who are trying their best with what they have. You know, so when someone like Carrie comes and attacks Cindy, and Carrie does not even know Cindy, and then on top of that, she lies about Cindy, I think that Cindy has a right to respond to her and set the record straight. And that's exactly what Cindy did late last night. In case you guys missed it, we put it in the 10 o'clock slot because it was an adult conversation. So Cindy did a little makeup tutorial, had some tea on the boil for you guys, and told the truth all at once. And I tell you what, there are people in the UK who were like, oh my God, it's 3 o'clock in the UK. I woke up when I saw the live come on, and guess what? I'm all here for it. I don't even know how many views it has this morning, but last night it had like over 4,000 views within a couple hours. The truth resonates with people. People understand what the truth is, you know, so we might have to give Cindy her own show on CMR because we love truth tellers, whether it's our friend in Cayman Brack, Elvis, or anybody else. And I noticed that people, you know, they appreciate the truth for what it is. You know, they like it raw. Nobody likes it all dressed up all the time. So Crystal says that she's surprised that Carrie hasn't started ranting on her page yet. Oh, give her a minute, honey. It's coming. I'm sure she will. And Marshall is saying maybe she's looking for company to go to jail like what she did. I mean, we're not trying to throw people's history in their faces, but when you go out there talking about other people should go to jail, we just remind you that you would know all about it because you stole from people. That's how you ended up in jail. So we are very much aware of your history. No one has forgotten that you are a thief, and you probably have never stopped given the many accusations that have been levied against you over the years since you've come out of jail. So Cindy responded, and it is what it is. you know? And I can tell you what, a lot more people are going to see Cindy's response than the 800 people that viewed the one from Carrie or whatever she had to say. Let's not put people down just because they come from a different walk of life than we do. There's nothing wrong with Cindy. She works, and yes, she has asked for NAU assistance. But you know what is good about Cindy? She doesn't take advantage of NAU. Even when she's working, she'll say to NAU, listen, I only need help with insurance for my family. Because you can imagine insurance for a family of 5 coming out of a minimum wage paycheck. You'll never make ends meet with that. So Cindy's like, I'll take care of my husband and I working. We'll pay for food. We can hold our own down with a little place to rent and whatever. We might only need help with insurance coverage through Cineco. And that's how she rolls. And Cindy keeps it 100% of the time. So I've got a lot of feedback from you guys up to this morning. A lot of you were messaging me about the show last night, and the comments are appreciated. One person said, hey, that makeup tutorial girl is good. Boy, she is talented. She is likable. I can't stop laughing. She's straight. No, sir. Laughing out loud. I had a few people send some voice notes, which I can't even share with you guys, but they were very, very funny. And people were just saying, listen, they enjoyed the show. They might have needed something a little bit heavier. This person said, I laughed. I almost pissed myself. They might have needed something a little bit heavier than some tea. Like maybe they had the Hennessy on hold or a glass of wine or something else. But it is what it is. We live in a world where, yes, there's tons of freedom of speech out there. And you get to say what you want, but that doesn't mean that you get to say what you want and nobody can respond to you. People can respond to you. And one of the things that we do here at CMR is give people that platform. If they want to respond, they can. It's funny because so many people over the years have disagreed with me. They've said all sorts of things. And I don't block someone just because they disagree with me. They might get blocked because they're being disrespectful. They're using threatening language. And when I say disrespectful, I mean like another level of disrespect, right? So there are other reasons that people get blocked from the CMR platform. It's not just because, I wrote something she didn't agree with. There's some people, like we blocked a guy the other day. I forget what the heck his name is now. Because he has been on the platform for years and he never has anything positive to say. All he does is engage in negativity. And he comes on CMR just to basically attack CMR and attack me. And that's all he's there for. And I'm thinking, why are you here again? So after giving him more than ample opportunity, and in fact, the irony of it is one time we were thinking about blocking him before, and then he private messages. This is when, people they're not honest. They're not legit. He private messages, I'm so sorry. Don't block me. I didn't mean anything, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, but you're just a Debbie Downer. Like you're nothing except negativity. You never, according to you, every story is gossipy. Every story is this. So he commented on the one last night with the UK detectives who were involved in a cheating scandal in the UK, which by the way, was a story that was all over the UK media. And he's like, oh, this is just gossipy. It's no wonder you're always in court. And I'm like, really, bitch? Seriously? You know what? I'm not even going to entertain you anymore. Block. End of that story. And let's keep it moving. Go over to Carrie's page and enjoy yourself. Talk to her for a minute and see how that works out for you. That's kind of how I feel about it, right? People don't understand that I don't have to personally entertain anybody or everybody for that matter. Obviously, we have this platform available to us, and I try to give people an opportunity to have their say. But when your say is always negative, always taking a side swipe at someone, then maybe it's just time for you to keep it moving. Go to the Compass page and talk to them. There's so many other options out there. Cayman News Service has a wonderful website. They have their Facebook page, and you've got options is the bottom line. Okay, so just keep it moving. All right, Marshall says, yes, I saw the live at Cindy. She was so funny. Sharon says, this is good of Cindy. Better ask for help than thief. Exactly. Hello. The irony of someone lying on somebody else about, they like to help. They like to get any you help. What's the alternative? Do like what she did, steal from other people to live a certain level lifestyle that obviously you cannot afford? Give me a beggar any day over a thief, my God. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that don't even make no sense. None whatsoever. And the thing about it is, if you have something to say about someone, even if it's the cold hard, you know what the operative word in there is? Truth. And this woman, Carrie, does not speak the truth on people. So she's talking about, Cindy came to her for help. Cindy has never been to Carrie for help. She can't even help her own self. How she can help anybody else? Like, seriously, Carrie? But I know the narrative because she's done the same thing with me. She claims that, I don't know what she supposedly did for me. I don't know. But, one of her rants one time, she mentioned about, how she was there for me and she helped me. And I'm like, say what? Now listen, we all have down times in life. We all may need help on occasion, but I cannot think of a single instance in my life where I needed help and Carrie would have been the person that I went to. I have friends in excess of 20 years that if I needed $1, I would go and ask them first. And those same friends can tell you, if I have ever borrowed anything from them, it would be the most rarest of occasions, because I'm the type of person who believes in holding on to, like, if you gonna ask somebody a favor, really need it, in other words. And most of the time, I'm really not that desperate. And if I need it, it wouldn't have been Carrie that would have been asked. That's the irony of the whole situation. So Sai says, I really enjoyed the show, but bottom line, everything she says was the truth. Yes. And people in this country are not fooled. Just because you can jump up and put up a page talking about you're a Caymanian, where's your vote, or some ridiculousness. People are not fooled. So yes, Sai, Carrie, Cindy last night had all the receipts. She had all the lawsuits. And again, talking about the pot calling the kettle black. She's talking about us. Look at how many times she's been sued. But more importantly, what has she been sued for? I've never had to pay out a lawsuit yet. I've never had to shut anything down. She has. She's had to shut down her Facebook format before. She claims at the time that she sold it. Oh, I sold the Facebook page. Yeah, sure you did. That's why it's still in existence. You can't even sell a Facebook page. She claims that she sold it and the Compass never shut her down. We all know better than that, folks. She's had her fair share of criminal allegations. She's actually been found guilty and found to be a thief. And when you go and Google her name, like Cindy said, there's more than enough evidence there of some insight into who she is. So yes, the truth is important, folks. The court may have said to us that in my particular case, the fact that I believed I was speaking the truth and the fact that I may have been speaking the truth had no bearing in what they were deciding, the legal elements of what was required for that offense. It didn't matter if it was the truth. But in the real world, the truth is very important. It's ironic that you can have an offense where the truth doesn't matter, but that's just how the court system rolls. Because in everything else, the truth matters. The judge will sit there and, judge you based on the truth and whether or not he thinks that you're telling the truth. But yet for the offense, the truth doesn't matter. It's all kind of a bag and mixed up. Trust me. So Atlas says, I went to school with Cindy and she's always been direct and honest. She was very kind to me when a lot of people weren't. So Atlas, thank you for remembering that about Cindy. Cindy and I don't go that far back. In more recent years, I've come to know Cindy and I've been in a position to assist her on occasion with her job hunt. And like so many other Caymanians, I try to help people where I can. Crystal said that she made some ramen noodles after the show. What a hot mess. Karen says nothing wrong with ramen noodles once you're not teeth it. Well, what can I say? What's with ramen noodles though? Is that like a When you can't have hot tea, do you substitute it with ramen noodles instead? Yep, nothing wrong with ramen noodles every once in a while. And Karen, I agree with you. It is always better to beg than to steal. Irvlyn says that Cindy fixed her ass. Well, buenos dias, Elizabeth. All right, so we got a lot of jackasses to talk about this morning, so let's get on it. So Doug Wyke, I think is how we pronounce his name. Good riddance to you. Doug is the one who we finally blocked from our site. You know what is so funny? Let me just talk about this. When we shared this story about the cheating scandal, everybody's like, oh, why is this news? And someone reminded me, well, when it was Will Smith and his wife, it was news. There's so many cheating scandals that we entertain. Yes, it's gossipy, whatever, that we entertain ourselves with. And I don't hear anybody saying about Will Smith, well, why is this news? As a matter of fact, a whole new word was developed out of that whole cheating scandal. Entanglement. Now, everybody in the world knows what an entanglement is. That's like the word of 2020. The point being, folks, we all engage sometimes a little bit of sauce, a little bit of tea, okay? Everyone can't. No, there's no one on the face of earth who can say they never engage in gossip on occasion. And that's the kind of entanglement that we like sometimes. And so this story about these two detectives was interesting for a number of reasons. And I can see why the UK media enjoyed a good laugh at the situation. Primarily because here you have, there's some serious elements to this. But it's also a little bit funny because here you have a wife, and everybody's on the police force. So the wife is on the police force, the husband is on the police force, and the other cheater is also on the police force, right? So check this out. So the wife gets caught not just cheating. I mean, that's an everyday occurrence, but the security door cam is what outed her. And we can all appreciate the irony of that situation, right? Everybody has all this added security. Every single one of us have a ring on our door or something similar. And so, you know, wow. Let's not forget Big Brother is watching, or your husband is watching at the very least. So yeah, she was on the phone, standing up by the ring, talking, meeting up at the hotel, making some arrangements for how it's all going to go down with this fella here. And the husband is listening in on the Ring doorbell. So that alone made this a very interesting story. Like, it's not every day that someone gets caught by a doorbell camera that the husband just happened to be listening to. Not only that, but the husband, now listen to this shenanigan. The husband actually, ironically enough, works in surveillance as a police officer. So that's another element of, wow, isn't this story interesting? Damn, listen, if I was going to cheat and I knew that my husband was a detective and he also did surveillance work, that would make me think twice about cheating, because you know you're going to get caught. Eventually your husband, no, TD. He has too keen of an eye to probably let anything slide, even around the house. Not just on the job is he sniffing things out. Not just on the job is he numero uno in terms of surveillance and detective work. So I kind of have to believe that at the end of the day, it was only a matter of time before she got caught. Now, I don't know how long the cheating was going on for, just as brightness at its best. So there are those kind of interesting elements. They also, both of the couple, not the other guy, but the couple, the husband and wife, both of them previously worked in the Cayman Islands. So there is an element of further interest. Like, hey, some of you guys might actually know this couple because they worked here back in the day as detectives back in, I think it was 2010 to 2014. So for 4 years, they worked in the Cayman Islands. She's a law school graduate, and her husband is also a detective here at the RCIPS. So there's that local element where we can go, wow, they're kind of connected to us a little bit. And then the more serious thing is that her cheating partner is actually a supervisor on the force in the UK, which is not good news for him. Okay. So he is Deputy Chief Constable Nev Kemp. And he's having a hookup with a sergeant, which falls under him. And you know, these work relationships can be very, very tricky for a number of different reasons. And there is a reason why most employers will tell you straight up that they do not want, and it's against company policy, for people to be engaged in these relationships with coworkers and superiors and so on, because it opens them up for lawsuits and all sorts of different things. You know, we don't know the details of how the two of them started hooking up, whether or not she was kind of finagled into it, forced into it, who knows? But the bottom line is you don't have relationships with subordinates and supervisors at work. It's a recipe for disaster. And in most work environments, because of sexual harassment and other things like that that they have to be considering, it's just not even permissible. So there is that serious element of it. And here's the most ironic part, folks. I mean, this is just, you can't even make this stuff up sometimes, right? His predecessor had gotten fired for the same thing. So when this guy, this is Deputy Chief Constable Nev, joined the force, he joined for the exact same reason, because his predecessor was kicked off of the force and told to be on your way because he was having a relationship with a subordinate, with someone who fell under him. So you would have thought that coming into the job, this is the sort of thing that he would never have engaged in. But listen, there you have it. Not everybody is on the bright scale of things. Cameron, good morning to you, my dear. So Cameron says, let me try to decipher what Cameron is saying here. Cameron says, I'm going to have to trade a case of WD-40 to you for that block button in exchange for a case of tea. Good morning to Louie. Cassidy, good morning to you, my dear. Karen says, given the number of unsolved crimes we have, tells you what they were up to here. Well, I will not wholeheartedly or single-handedly blame the two of them, because I don't know, you know, what else might have been going on here. But yeah, we have a lot of unsolved cases. And, you know, listen, Chris Saunders really put them people to the ringer on Thursday about some of this stuff. We're going to talk about it after the 10th. Listen to me. The 10th is a Thursday. So you know that day, everything will be on fleek in terms of information. So just stay tuned. We're going to talk about it, Karen, because there's a lot of things. Good morning, Cece. Cece's here, feeling good now that she's gotten all that stuff off of her chest and she's addressed Carrie and she's set the record straight. So let's keep it moving, because we got a lot of jackasses, like I said earlier, to talk about. Wow. Can you guys believe that we had yet another breach over the weekend? I mean, I can't make this stuff up. They want to talk about we engage in fake news. Well, folks, I received a phone call into the evening around, let me tell you what time. 6:42. person said, I got to talk to you. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. Wagwan. I am made aware of this breach. And quite an amazing, oh Lord Jehovah. All right, hold that, sister. Hold that bit of information there. I soon come to you. An amazing bit of information. Another breach. The person was there. And you know, there are people who bring you the facts that you don't have to ask too many questions because they already know. If I go to CMR with my story, they're going to want all of the details. I got to come straight. I got to come legit. And so they were like, boom, 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 boom. Here's the individual. Her name is XYZ, yada, yada, yada. This is how she's on the island. This is how she's connected. Here's the history. She was in an event today with hundreds of people holding on to somebody's baby under a tent, hugging up somebody's baby. And I said, Lord, have mercy. Wow. Blew my mind. But of course, I need time now to start doing my research, finding out who she really is, getting my photo, because you know I got to secure my photo so I can show you who the jackasses are. And it took some digging to actually find her, quite interestingly enough. But when I found her, I found the goods. Unbelievable. And as we were posting the story up, the government was announcing at the same time that, oh, there was a breach. They were in such a hurry, poor them. They were in such a hurry to get their statement out that they actually had a typo in theirs, and they had the date as the 22nd that this breach occurred. When I first saw it, I thought to myself, I'm pretty sure it's not the 22nd, but I get that they were in a hurry because they knew that we were in the story. And how did they know? How did they know that? Because I already had reached out to the police force to say, another quarantine breach today? Is there any truth to the fact that you've arrested another person for breaching quarantine? So the second they get that email from me, they already know that I got all the information. I'm just trying to see if they're going to confirm it, yes or no. And I'm about to hit that quick fire button of publish. And then the story goes live and it automatically goes to thousands of people. So it was ironic that literally as we were sending it out, their release was coming out at the same time. But, you know, we still had the story. The story was written. The Jackass picture was available and the whole 9 yards. So I'm going to break this down for you guys because I remain in awe at how people have such balls to come to Cayman and do the stuff that they do. Let me just be very, very frank here because I can't call it anything else. She's got balls of steel. And not only does she have balls of steel, but anyone who's entertaining her likewise has balls of steel, to be quite frank and honest. It is just unbelievable. So who are we talking about this morning, folks? Good morning to Gina. Good morning, Odette. Panda Cloud is here for it. Panda says that they need to stop home quarantining and make for government quarantine facilities. Panda, I'm agreeing with you 1,000% on this. The risk is too great. Let's talk about it. First of all, let's see pretty little Miss Jackass. Pretty little girl. But you ain't got no sense, girl. What the hell are you doing? She's from Georgia. Oops, sorry. Didn't mean to take away her picture. She's from Georgia. She's a university student there. I don't know exactly what she's studying, but I saw her share something that kind of gave me an impression that maybe Skylar Mack is her name, that maybe she was in the sciences, like maybe a science major, which would even be further shocking and surprising. She is the daughter of an international and I guess professional watercraft operator. So in other words, he's a jet ski rider, but he does it professionally. And of course, you guys know that in the US, that's a job, right? So these guys ride professionally and they go through different circuits and championships and whatever. So this is their connection to Cayman. Her father's a jet ski rider, and he comes to the Cayman Islands to participate in some of the jet ski tournaments and races here. Now, we don't have a humongous we're not big in the jet ski world, but we've got a presence. We even have a young woman who's on, she's won one of the championships here. So shout out to that young lady. So what we got going on here is this young lady and her daddy come to the Cayman Islands. This is a picture of her hanging out on another beach somewhere, right? So they're always on the beach, enjoying a little sun, fun, and jet ski time. No problem. Nothing wrong with that. I like it. What I don't like is the fact that she ain't got no common sense. So the story goes, she's enjoying the life of the world of jet skiing, however interesting that world is. And so she meets one of our young men who's in the local circuit, and I imagine he travels overseas as well. And she takes a fancy for him. Nothing wrong with that, folks. I mean, come on. Caymanians are some of the best looking people in the world. So yeah, look, Caymanian things sweeter. We understand, girl. Nothing wrong with that. So she starts dating this young man. When I started doing my checks, people were like, wait a minute, he's dating somebody else, but isn't he in a relationship with somebody? Listen, I'm not getting into any of that. He's dating her, okay? So I don't know who else he's dating, or if they broke up, that's not part of the equation here. So this is her reason, and this is important. The only reason why I'm even getting into this is because this is important to understand what Travel Cayman is actually doing, because they need to pump the brakes on this BS that they're going on with, okay? So we understood when the borders were phased reopening that it would be people who own property here. We're still in that phase, right? Or, because they extended it, people who are connected to someone in the Cayman Islands, people who have family members here, et cetera, et cetera. Someone said, how the hell is she here? Because to me, she looks like a visitor. And that's why I'm explaining the backdrop of who her father is and the fact that she came here basically to watch her Caymanian boyfriend race. So I'm assuming when she applied to Travel Cayman for permission to come in, she put down the Cayman boyfriend. Oh, this is my boyfriend. When you go to immigration, right? And someone puts you down as their contact. At some point, you become a person who is responsible for them. Now, when you do it with immigration would tell you straight up, you are financially responsible for this individual. They put you down as their sponsor. You're responsible for them. Travel Time needs to do the same thing. They need to hold everybody accountable in this equation. Because then you're going to think twice about who you're allowing to come in using your good name. And if you care enough about your good name, you're probably going to pump the brakes and say, Skylar, stay behind in Georgia. Don't bother coming right now. We'll continue to Skype each other. We can do the sexting thing. I'm sure that sexting by Zoom has to be a thing in this COVID pandemic. Because if you and your husband or boyfriend are separated thousands of miles, what else are you going to do? So she decides to come in, knowing that she was coming in for this event and that she intended to go to an event with hundreds of people out there yesterday. So my apologies. This was a jet skiing event at the South Sound dock. So little Miss Skylar goes out to this event. Now, this is where people have bad intentions, folks. We talked about the Jackasses last week. They entered the Cayman Islands fully knowing that they intended to breach quarantine. They were planning on it. And that is why they had the thing all the way up their arm. What do you think the situation was with this young lady as well? Do you honestly think that this was a mere coincidence and that Skylar did not have plans to go to that event this weekend? Why the hell do you think she was coming in to begin with? Seriously. Now, Skylar, somebody just said you might have balls of steel, but you must also have steel in your head. Because had you planned your trip a little bit better, we would not even be having this conversation. There would be no need for us to have given you the accolade of Jackass of the Day. You could have continued to live in this little frou-frou world of yours and be perfectly happy. You only had to plan to come on island 15 days beforehand so that you could have gone through quarantine, gotten your swab, and been cleared. And then you could have attended the event yesterday. Nobody would have cared. You would not have been on anybody's radar. You know, it would have been easy peasy just like that. Thank you so much for the 200 of you that are tuned in. Shout out to our YouTube audience. They're not as big as Facebook, but they hang in there. So thank you to all of them. So Skylar comes to the Cayman Islands with bad intent, folks. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Bad intent. No bueno. She slipped off that bracelet, left it right there with the tracking phone. Now, you see, this is where I know our government ain't got no sense. And why, although I am calling her Jackass of the Day, Travel Time and the government has to be Jackass of the Year. Because when I was originally doing research on this I Am Safe device, I understood, and the research said, that you could actually pair this device with an existing mobile phone, okay, via Bluetooth, and they went through the whole 9 yards of how it works. You know what our government did? And I'm going to come back to some of your comments here in a second. I do see that they're coming in. You know what our government did? Dr. Lee, and specifically Dr. Lee, the same doctor who we have given an award to for doing such a fantastic job in relation to the COVID situation, so much so that the governor has given him an OBE. And this is what I tell people: careful how you give out awards so early in the pandemic, because it ain't over, nowhere near over. And now we're seeing a lot of slip-ups that somebody in this country should be held accountable for, and someone should answer to. But guess what? As usual, nobody else is asking the questions but us. And you know, there's some drag us through court for it. Nobody else cares but us. But I want you guys to understand that the system is what has failed us. These people like Skylar, like the couple from last week, Dr. Pascal and his wife, listen, assholes like them exist all over the world. Let's be very frank. We expect them to do that. Remember how months ago I told you guys what they were doing in the Bahamas, why the Bahamas had to go back into lockdown? Because they were going to the Bahamas into that country, actually taking false documents with them, claiming that they had been tested for COVID and they were COVID free. So we know what we're dealing with. We know these people will lie. They're not to be trusted. So when my government says to me, oh, this system is mostly about trust. No, it ain't, honey. You are a fool of the highest level if you think that we must bring people into this country, jeopardize our almost COVID-free standing because we gonna trust them. This is not the kind of thing that you trust. This is our lives at stake here, folks. This is us going back into lockdown. I'm sorry if I don't trust people. I don't trust them because they have proven. There have been mayors, politicians all over the world, Canada, the UK, the US. They will stand up and tell me, oh yeah, we're shutting everybody down. Next thing you know, a picture leak out of them at a party and join themselves. They're in breach of quarantine themselves. So there is no trust system here. We have to make sure that if we're going to have this phased reopening, that our phased reopening is so tight, right? That the chances of someone breaching quarantine would be slim to none. And that is not what is happening here in the Cayman Islands. So I can't just give poor little Skylar and the Pascals, yes, they're straight up jackasses, but I cannot give them full blame without looking at how government, Travel Time, Dr. Garcia, I don't care how hard you guys claim that you're working, you're missing the mark. Let's talk about why I say that. Okay? Instead of you allowing everybody got a smartphone in this day and age, huh? Some of us spend thousands of dollars for these smartphones. When they were trying to make the decision of what technology we were going to use, right? They put Dr. Lee in charge of the technology. Oh, he's going to test all of the bio button. Remember when he was testing that and he was on vacation and he said he was out and about? He was having a good time and the bio buttons worked well. Then they decided not to go in that direction. We never really got a full explanation as to why they were not going in that direction. It would have been good to hear the logic. Then we switched up to these I am smart devices. Okay. Everyone has a smartphone. Do you know that Offreg was going to assist Dr. Lee and his team with deciding and researching what technology would be best to assist with this whole reopening situation? Now, you guys know that everybody was like, the premier was like, oh yes, we have all these teams working in conjunction with each other. So we've had the health practitioners, HSA, public health, we have tourism people, border control people, police. There's a whole committee to talk about how we will safely reopen. And everybody has someone appointed on the committee, and we're all on the same page, and we're working in tangent with each other to figure this out. Well, here is what many of you don't know, okay? Offreg, ICTA, was in a position, they're supposed to be the technology experts after all, to assist with the sourcing of this technological equipment to assist with the reopening. And you know what happened? Let me tell you what happened, folks. Dr. Lee says, no, I don't need you. I got this. Because he's feeling himself these days. He's an expert in everything. So once you get an MBE, MBO, MBC, MB to the double D, you're like, well, I got this. I know what I'm doing. It doesn't matter. Here's a fool talking about they're from Canada and they want to talk about how their relationship was restored. Abdi, come off of my Facebook, please. We ain't got time for your shenanigans this morning. We are talking about important things in this country. Lord, let's delete that comment. What an idiot. So Dr. Lee, instead of taking advice from the Offreg people, he decides he's got it under control and he's going to do it himself. The decision was made to purchase the wristbands. You guys remember the I am smart devices. In case you've forgotten what they look like, allow me to refresh your memory. They're just like a little hospital band made out of pretty cheap plastic. And they have a little chip on the inside. And you see that little scanner there. You scan that, you link that Bluetooth with your smart device. Now he purchased, now this is quite of an interesting move on his part. He decided to purchase the smart devices. And apparently this company, which is a Canadian company, funny enough, I think they were bought out by some Canadian people. They also have an accompanying smartphone device as well that you can purchase with it. Now, my understanding is it can work with any smartphone device. There's an app and a Bluetooth and you just connect it. No, Caymanians always got to be so extra, as them old people would say. We so extra sometimes that we ain't got no sense. So we went the extra mile, okay, and had to purchase the accompanying phones that came with it. Let me tell you why that's so stupid. Why that makes that I don't care if you got doctor in front of your name, in the middle of your name, behind your name, above your name, or below your name. There's certain things, as Caymanians say, that is just common sense. And if you ain't got it, you ain't got it. It don't make no difference how many degrees you got. If this device will work via an app on any smartphone, tell me why you would go and purchase an accompanying smartphone from this company. What would be the purpose of that? Let me tell you why that makes no sense. All of us, like I said, have a smartphone. And other than the drawers that you're wearing and your clothes on your back, when you go out, what is the one thing you always have with you? And not your smartphone. We carry it like it's an appendage, like it's a third arm, another buttock. You're not leaving your smartphone home if you can help it. The occasional times that we forget the smartphone, we got to rush back and get it. Can't leave that smartphone home. So you know the people who keep breaching quarantine? Every one of them has a smartphone. And I bet you when they're out and about breaching quarantine and hooking up with people, guess what they're doing? Messaging people from that smartphone. Okay, honey, I'm on WhatsApp right now. Okay, I'm coming to you right now. I'm taking a taxi. Don't know how she got to worship. I'm taking a taxi from Newlands to South Sound, or maybe the boyfriend picked her up. Okay, honey, I'm outside. Come and pick me up. Blah, blah, blah. It would be definitely less likely that they're going to leave their personal cell phone that's connected to this device, this tracking device, at home versus a third-party cell phone that you have given them that they have no connection to. No contacts on it. They don't need to be calling anybody. They don't need to be messaging anybody. Nothing. They don't need to be taking any pictures, selfies of them on the beach, videos of them on the beach, because they would need their phone for that. So in my mind, it would have made way more sense to link this to existing phones as opposed to what they did, which was buy a device that is too easy to leave home right next to the bracelet. And that's exactly what these people are doing. Okay. So that's one reason government ain't got no sense. And the people that we put in charge makes you question them. We have almost 1,000 people currently in quarantine, over 800 and something people. And how big exactly is this travel Cayman team? 20 something people. Now, you guys know I tell you all the time, I'm no mathematician. I was an English major, in fact, quite the opposite of being a math person. But even with a little bit of common sense, you do the per person ratio of 900 people to 22 people. There is no way that those 22 people who work in shifts around the clock can be checking in on anybody. They can only check a handful of people driving up and down all day long in Cayman traffic. So this young lady felt safe that she could slip this wristband off her arm, slip out all day long. My girl never just went for half an hour and said, okay, let me say hi to my boyfriend. Mwah, good luck today, honey. Now I'm going to go back in quarantine. She goes in the morning and she stays there until after 2 o'clock in the day when police were called. When someone said, who is that girl? Didn't she just get here? It's a good thing Cayman is as small as it is, you know, because despite us not knowing who else is breaching quarantine, and I assure you, last week when the government issued their statement after the Canadians breached it, oh, well, we've had 1,000 people come in and everybody else is following it. You a bunch of, listen to me. You'd have to be stupid to make such a comment. You'd have to be stupid to not realize that other people are likewise breaching it and you just don't know. Those little flimsy wristbands can stretch and come right off. So guess what? Hi. Couple mistakes have been made here. So this young lady goes out of quarantine. She goes out on the jet ski, out on the water. She's under a tent with other people. She holds somebody's child in her arms. Oh, what a cute little Caymanian baby that I could potentially be giving COVID to right this minute. Listen, if I was that child's mother, somebody would have to be answering some serious questions. But you know, Caymanians, they're not going to be too worried. They're not going to be too worried, none at all. This is the kind of ridiculousness that is happening in our country and that is going on right under our noses. And if people are not calling Cayman Mall Road to give us all the details of what went down, we wouldn't know. Because even when government issues a press release, because they know it's coming, They provide very little information. They're not telling us they're all day long under a tent in close proximity to other people, hugging up people, baby. They're not telling you none of that. Even with the Cuban nationals that have disappeared, anybody really thinking about that situation closely? Those tracking monitors that are on those individuals are the same ones we use for our prisoners. And if the Cubans can take it off so easily and disappear, and government don't even know, what do you think a motivated prisoner, and they've done it in the past, we know that, but they claim that they fixed that problem. Have they really fixed it? Because 14 people just walked out of this country, right? Thank God they just wanted to leave. They'd had enough of the shenanigans. They were like, let us out, we're gone. Poor Mexico, now they have them and they're reporting in the news. Cubans fled from the Cayman Islands. The headlines, I had to chuckle a little bit, but it's the truth. So how secure are these things again? Honestly, I'm not really feeling it. So Travel Cayman is failing us. They're talking about we're going to operate off of trusts. I don't know where they're getting that from. And trust is going to be keeping us safe from COVID. My fellow Caymanians, residents, anybody here who cares to listen to what I'm saying, it only takes one super spreader at an event like this of 200 people for this virus to take hold in this community again. Let us remember how the virus operates. One person has it. It's the easiest thing in the world to spread. The boyfriend, because listen to me, nobody not telling me nothing. If she has the audacity and Superman balls of steel to go out in broad daylight and spend all day at a function with hundreds of people with no concern in the world that she was breaching quarantine, you not telling me the boyfriend not going to visit her in the short space of time that she's been here locked up in quarantine. And she's probably going out to other places and other functions. One person can spread it to 4 or 5 people at that event. Those 4 or 5 people go home. They have families. They go to work thinking that they're safe. How many of them work government, banks, grocery stores, corporate offices? It don't matter. It is easy for this thing to take hold in our small community yet again. This is the problem. And this is why this is not something to joke about. It is a very serious indictment on us. That now we know about these breaches. There have been other breaches that have been reported the government not fessing up to. They claim they're investigating. But you see, they couldn't hide the one from yesterday because by the time I emailed the police last night, another person arrested, they knew this already had gone large. There were so many people there who saw the personnel show up for her, saw CBC, saw police. They're like, ooh, you know, Caymanians nosy. What's going on here? So people knew. The highest levels of government yesterday was like, OMG, my Lord can get hold of this and roast us again. And they were not happy last night, I'm telling you. Their inner circle talking. Jesus, peace. Breaches so close in proximity. Now, here's another moment of jackassery by our own government. They're forcing me to create all these words, you know. A week later, just last week, Monday, was when we reported on this quarantine breach of the other couple. So not even a week later, we have another high-profile one at an event with hundreds of people. Now listen to this, good folks. You want to pay attention to this part. Our government, our illustrious government, the same government that we are talking about, well, not we, as in the people with any sense, but the supporters of Alden McLaughlin, who claimed that he should be getting he should be knighted because he's done such a fantastical job at all of this. Knighted? Okay. Let's talk about what that would entail exactly. Last week, Monday, when we heard that the government, or the courts, my apologies, had only fined this couple $1,000 each plus $200 for court time, everyone was up in arms about it. Remember? We're like, what's wrong with these judges? What's wrong with the judiciary? They're not easy. Blah, blah, blah. Boy, if that was a Caymanian with a spliff, they would have fined you $20,000 and put you behind under the jail house. I too was thinking, that don't sound too right. If the fine is $10,000, and the way that the law is written, it sounds like it is a mandatory fine. It doesn't sound like you got any discretion. I'm thinking magistrates FODATs wouldn't have fined them $1,000. Something sounds strange about that situation. Travel Time puts out their press release, says nothing about the fine. I want you guys to pay attention to what I'm going to tell you. Because when I tell you that May the 26th is right around the corner and you need to make some changes to this government, you will now understand why. Why you need to make these changes, folks. Government then sends out a press release on the 27th, which was Friday, to say that they finally passed the regulations. They've gazetted the regulations or whatever the heck they've done to take the fine from the $1,000 to the $10,000 and up to 2 years and up to 2 years imprisonment. Did you guys miss what I just said? Because let me break it down for you. Here's a link in case you missed the story. We are cussing the courts. Why they only fine them $1,000? Guess what? That's all they could fine them. Because cabinet, not just, let's not use the term government, because I'm not blaming civil servants. I'm not blaming even the other elected officials. They did their part. They passed this already. Cabinet has a certain role, folks, to play in the final analysis of how legislation moves forward in this country. And in this case, with these emergency provisions, the amendment to the public law was done over a month ago, and Cabinet is now just getting around for whatever reason. I don't know what else is on their plate. But on Friday, they just got around to approving the publication of 3 updated regulations, and that includes the ones regarding the $10,000 fine and the 2 years imprisonment. And then on top of that, it doesn't go into effect until today. November the 30th expires January the 31st. So let me be very clear. The young lady who was caught yesterday will pay no more than $1,000. Did we hear that? Did everybody in the back of the room hear what I just said? This is government failures, folks. This is cabinet failures. Elected officials. You know who's on cabinet? Cabinet comprises of your ministers. Alden McLaughlin, Juliana O'Connor Conley, Moses Kirkernel, Dwayne Seymour, Mr. Roy McTaggart. Who else is on cabinet? I feel like I'm missing somebody. Am I missing anybody? So those are the cabinet members that didn't have time in the past month to get together to make sure that this legislation was gazetted, published, whatever you want to call it. And now it's only coming into force today. Really? Everybody heard that Jackass just now? He looked like he's straining. It's unbelievable. This should not have even been a second thought. The moment we're in the middle of a pandemic and you're talking about being united, the minute that you passed that a month ago, Cabinet should have convened immediately and published it immediately. They have in the past, during the rest of the COVID pandemic. We are beginning to let our guard down at a time when the numbers are peaking around the world like nobody's business. This is not the time, folks. This is not the time. It's not the time to let our guard down. Listen, the pandemic, 62.8 million cases worldwide, 1.46 million dead, at least. And I encourage you and remind you of the fact that these are always numbers on the caution, on the reserved side of things. They are worse. They're saying that the numbers are probably 8 times that. Oh, yes. Thank you, Kenneth. How can I forget? Joey Hugh and Tara Rivers are also cabinet members. So every single one of them, all of them, that's how many? I think it's 7, right? Didn't have time in the last month. What are they doing? To get together and to pass this legislation, to make sure that it was gazetted, published, whatever. So that now 2 of the breaches that we know about, and trust me when I tell you there are more, that have been so egregious, these people are going to get a little slap on the wrist, be on your way. And they're going to do the same foolishness with her. Oh, you can't come back during quarantine. Really? That's the punishment? That's what we think is going to be such a deterrent to people all over the world? Caymanians, wake up. Hashtag stay woke. But you know what? We can't even stay woke. In the words of Johan Moxham, he's always hashtagging stay woke. We can't stay woke because we still asleep. We not woke up yet. You can only stay woke if you are already awake. This country has had an awakening for some of us. Hats off to people like Linda. I just saw her commenting here. Linda Clark. She's talking about South Australia had to go back in lockdown after quarantine breach. It doesn't take much, folks. It really, really doesn't take much. That's November the 16th. Linda, part of the CPR group. She's out there fighting for the environment. Those people are woke. But you know what? There are a lot of other people out there who have not woken up yet. And I am beseeching you, my fellow Caymanians, wake up. You can only stay woke once you stop sniffing whatever foolishness they're feeding you. Stop believing the baloney. Every government has to be held accountable. Shout out to Kenneth Bryan. He was one of my last witnesses, or one of my live witnesses, I should say, in court on Thursday. And you know what Kenneth said? Kenneth said, listen, Sandy holds me accountable. She holds me to the fire. I consider her friend. She's also part of media, but she's not going to give me any special passes. And we know this. We know the times I've held Kenneth to the fire. I didn't agree with Kenneth supporting McKeever when he did, but I give Kenneth his props whenever he deserves it, and Kenneth has been doing a lot. I'm not here to befriend any politician, folks. I am here to tell you the cold hard truth, whether you like it or not. And every single person who stood up in court for me, it was only 3 of them, but when they stood up in court, we had 65 written references and 3 live. They could say, you know what? She's going to hold me accountable. And I respect that. She's going to hold you accountable if you do something wrong. And I respect that. When it comes to our politicians, who is holding them accountable, really? The Compass, bless their little hearts. They're going to do a few stories on, oh, there's been another breach. But who at the Compass is going to call the government what they really are? A bunch of jackasses for doing things and putting the lives and the safety and the health of people in this country at risk. Somebody's got to do it, folks. Somebody has got to do it. Poor Odette said, yeah, my poor jackass. I think I might have to find another one because he does sound a little bit streamed, like, If we are to get serious about this, Maria, we need to rethink what we are doing and how we are doing it. The home quarantine comes with an immense amount of risk. And the bottom line is, folks, I do not believe that we have enough people on travel time Cayman to monitor these individuals. We have now seen how incredibly easy it is to breach quarantine. And had it not been for observant individuals who just knew that these people were in quarantine, none of them would have been caught by travel time Cayman. My good people, I want you to hear what I just said because I'm going to say it again. Had it not been for other people, so the people who saw this young lady yesterday at the jet ski event, who knew she just got on the island. Had it not been for somebody else sent me a picture, I need to verify this one. Somebody sent me one last night of a Caymanian. Now, you know that one gonna be hot. Because the second I put her as jackass in there, everybody be like, oh, Lord, Sandra don't like Caymanians. They can forget about all the other people who have been expats. But you know how it is. That's going to be the rhetoric. That's what they're going to go with. But I got another photo last night of a woman at a house party. Somebody's saying she needs to be jackass too because, hold on a second, she's out partying with her friends when she's supposed to be in quarantine. So, you know, I got to check my facts. I got to do some verifying. But this is a Caymanian. And here she is with two other Caymanians, one of them who works in a healthcare facility. So if there's any truth to this, and of course her friend put up a picture on social media, I catch them every time, you know. If there's any truth to the fact that this woman has just returned to this island and she's out having a good time with her friends, boy, guess what? She gonna be jackass too. Travel Cayman not catching nobody. And to me, this is the biggest indictment on the fact that this system isn't working. It is other people calling 911. Hello, 911, come and get Skylar. She's been here all day long and you guys don't know that she's missing? What kind of I am smart devices are these anyway? What exactly are they tracking? Because I have, and I'm wearing it now, but I have a $200 Fitbit, right? That tracks movement, sleep, and tell you if you sleep, if you're awake, if you're this, if you're that. What is this device tracking? This device to me sounds like a waste of money and a little bit too simple. Because a Fitbit can tell you somebody's heart rate, if they're sleeping or not sleeping or whatever the hell it is that they're doing. Remember the man who got caught at 3 o'clock in the morning cheating on his girlfriend because it showed up on her app that his heartbeat went up to whatever beats per minute? She's like, hold on, that's not a sleeping heart rate. That's not a resting heart rate. That's a some kind of shenanigan going on heart rate. So you have a tracking device, folks, that ain't tracking nobody. It is just connected Bluetooth. Let me just show you how simple this is, folks. All right. This is my daughter's little plate, frozen plate. Everybody see that? Let's pretend that this is a wristband. This and this, Bluetooth. As long as they're connected, that tells you geo-tracked, the person's in the house. Okay, so you have a geolocation and that's it. So this device ain't telling you nothing else about the person. And that's a problem. To me, that means that you're probably invested in the wrong technology. Because the second that wristband comes off and you don't have a heartbeat or contact, skin contact, if it was the right kind of technology, that is the kind of alert that should go off. It should go ding, 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 ding. No skin contact in the last 5 minutes, which means that the bracelet has been slipped off, unless the person dead, and even then you'd still have skin contact. So we have invested and spent only God knows how much, because I've asked the question, how much money have we spent on this technology? Oh, now they're not answering the question. That was over a month ago that I asked that question. How much did we spend? How many of these bracelets did we purchase? How many of these phones did we purchase? I'm asking for a breakdown because I want to know how my hard tax paying money, when I pay government fees, what is it going towards? Is this really making any sense? I need information to be able to analyze what has transpired here. And I cannot do that without the information. Oh, now government not got information yet. Oh, we're working on it. They informed me last week that apparently there were some legal things that they needed to do. In other words, they're probably hiding it all so that the FOI request never gets responded to. That's probably what's really going on. Why they can't answer a very simple question. You just made the purchase. It shouldn't be that hard. How much of our money did you spend? It's not your personal money, Dr. Lee. So you don't get to hide that sort of thing from people. Tell us what it is. We have a right to know. And apparently, since it's not working, we have even more of a right to know. Home quarantine not working. How many people do you think are going to have to be in breach of the home quarantine provisions before we say it's not working? It has been good, old-fashioned, what's on the mall road that has caught these people. In other words, Caymanians, they might not be a smart device, but we smart. Caymanian eyes going, what the heck is that person doing out? Are they not supposed to be in quarantine? That is how these people have gotten caught. Isn't that amazing? Not caught by technology that we have spent thousands of dollars on. They're being caught by old Caymanian inquisitiveness, nosiness. The same thing they want cuss us out on the mall road about. Yes, we up in your business because your business isn't your business when it's our health on the line. Now, you guys think this is a joke? Have a look at this message and tell me. I want you all to read this and tell me what you think of this message before I interpret this. All right. What does this message say? This is Skylar, posted on August the 29th. On her Facebook page says, cough in my face. I have antibodies now. Now, I don't know if she is quoting a friend. It is in quotes. So it might be a friend of hers. And it says SYD at Mercer University. So maybe those are the initials of her friend. I don't know. Or she has a friend named Sid. I don't really know. But did Skylar have it? We don't know. Nobody knows, folks. If the people coming in have already had it, don't currently have it, still have it, not until day 14, when they get tested can our government then definitively say at that point if they are COVID positive or not? And I want to stress again, because I have people up to this day saying to me, oh, well, aren't we testing them when they come in? Yes, we are. And that does not matter, folks, because guess what? There are people who are testing negative at the airport, negative upon entry, who still have the virus. And by the last day of their quarantine, day 14, they are then testing positive for the virus, because that is how this virus works. And that is why the 14-day quarantine period is essential. Right? That incubation period is a must. So, like I said, I don't know if she's had it or she just had a friend that had it, but she is from Loganville, Georgia. And guess what? This virus is all over the place, folks. Let's check it out. COVID, Loganville County. Hold on. All right. Georgia has got it, of course. Total cases in Georgia, over 452,000, with over 9,000 dead. Yep. We have headline, 10 students at the middle school in Loganville test positive for COVID. They've got a whole list here and a whole breakdown of what's going on in Georgia. So, folks, a Georgia coronavirus, Gwinnett County, and I don't know exactly where that is in relation to Loganville, ties for second most COVID-19 deaths. So they got a lot of deaths in Georgia. Maybe not as bad as Florida, but guess what? Still happening, folks. This is not something to play around with. It really isn't. Sarah, Diana says home quarantine doesn't work because people are too selfish. Well, if we know it ain't working, then we need to stop it. It seems pretty simple to me. Undoubtedly, just a few bad apples is all it takes. And I get how the other people must feel. Sarah says what they should do is pay the neighbors to watch them. Sarah, I have said this from the beginning. Nothing as nerve-wracking as a nosy neighbor. And like I said, trust me, there are people who are sneaking around, having people come into their homes through the back door, through the side door, cheating, whatever. This I Am Smart bracelet isn't telling those people none of that information. Seriously. A nosy neighbor would go a long way. I was for it from the beginning. I said, put a stake in the front yard to let everybody know this is a quarantine house right now. Number one, it informs delivery drivers who they need to be particularly concerned. They're telling them, oh, well, treat everybody the same. Assume everybody has it. Government, travel time, public health. You don't have no sense when you tell people that. Our guard has been let down. Delivery drivers are coming to your door asking to sign paperwork, handing you a pen, pencil, whatever. They're not treating no one as contactless anymore. And this is the danger of the situation. Put a stake in the front yard if you're going to continue with this home quarantining, so everyone knows who is in quarantine at a particular location. I have heard stories of these quarantine workers not going around checking. Some people said the entire time they were in quarantine, they never had anybody call them. Nobody checked on them. Nobody drove by, nothing. When they're in facilities like the couple from last week, the facility people, other people who were there at the facility, like, they're not checking nobody. And the other thing that concerns me with some of these facilities, why are you allowing the facilities to commingle? So in other words, you can be approved as a quarantine facility, like a Regal Beach, the Ritz, wherever, it doesn't matter. And you have both people who are there in quarantine and both people who are out of quarantine. So not even the staff at the Ritz probably has an idea, or any of these resorts, of who is who. That's why Dr. Pascal and his wife were walking around. They spoke to the security guard on multiple occasions. And the security guard himself did not know that this particular couple should have been locked up in quarantine. I agree, Nicole. Have the public help you guys. Put up a public notice, put a stake in the yard. Yes, these are good ideas that Travel Cayman needs to take on board if we're going to continue this. I, for one, thinks that this country needs to reconsider, right? This whole at quarantine thing. If we can't tighten it up with the technology that we have, then I dare say it ain't working. It is putting too many lives at risk. And this is a small community. It would not take much for this virus to reemerge. And as someone pointed out later, the virus is still here, you know. We've got asymptomatic people walking around. We just don't have community spread, and we feel relatively safe about that. It wouldn't take a whole lot to change that in a heartbeat. We have stewardess that are on these planes. Yes, they're trying to engage in contactless whatever. But we also know that these droplets are in the air, folks. You don't have to come in direct contact with anyone. It is airborne. So what's the protocol for stewardess who go back to their families? How often are they being tested? What's the protocol there? There's just so many questions that I have. Every single BA flight that comes in is full and loaded. Atlas says, we students made a sacrifice in that hotel fighting our demons, and someone can't manage to stay at their own yard for a couple of days. Yep. I remember the great job that you guys did. So Cece's talking about the fine. Jasara. The fine, like I said, comes into place finally today. And you know, people who do this, I'm sure this young lady is a nice young lady otherwise. Skylar, bless your little heart. You probably lived your entire life in a bubble with no clue of any sacrifices in life, no clue of the real world. Oh, look at that little face. It's so innocent. She's gorgeous. She's probably had the best possible life. And who shouldn't? I'm not faulting anybody for that. We all want to raise our children to be happy, go lucky. But with that comes, I think, a sense of them having no clue what the real world is all about. This is a serious thing, Skylar. This is nothing to joke about. You know what I'm saying? She could be, even if they test her now and the test comes back negative, let us be very, very clear that she could have a lower viral count in terms of the PCR test. So she'll get a negative result, but she could still be spreading. She could still have enough to spread to other people. And this would be a very sad indictment on us She could have been a super spreader. We don't know. Carol reminds us that they've stopped home quarantining in Hong Kong. You know why? Because it don't work. Human beings, by definition, are very selfish individuals. And we have to accept, when we're dealing with systems and procedures like this, folks, we have to understand the psychology of people, first of all, and what it is that you're dealing with. And that should guide your policy. Yes, we've got medical teams who are saying, oh, this, that, whatever. It's a combination of things. But the very foundation upon which we are operating with is the fact that people, right, are non-compliant. People will come to your face and lie directly to your face about what they have done and what they haven't done. So you cannot trust people. Jonathan says, why is it that it is always the educated donkeys that is running these departments and screwing up everything? Well, I don't know if I have the answer for that, Jonathan. We say that education is important. Mitzi, by the way, I need you to private message me if you can. It's important that you do so, I think. Everyone has the WhatsApp number, right? 324-1612. Speaking of WhatsApp, we got a message here. It says, really appreciate your watchful eye and honest reporting as it relates to quarantine breaches. I arrived with my family and followed the rules for the full 15 days. Didn't leave the house, despite I'm in Northside and it's quiet over there. Very easy to follow the rules and be honest and care about the community, if so long as you're not selfish. We came to our home here because it's safe for me and my older parents. California is locked down and very unsafe, and I just hope and pray that the other travelers, residents, etc., do the same. The health of the country is dependent on honesty above all, and that's Jason Feltz. Thank you so much, Jason, for sending us that comment. And he's been through it, so he understands. And Jason said, listen, it's easy to do. I have to wonder, all the way out north side, how many times were they even checking on Jason? People are all over the place. Any of this team of quarantine or team came on actually stationed in the outer districts? Do they live in the outer districts where they can pop in their car, or does it take them 2 hours to get to north side? What a hot mess. So Emily, she's thinking along the lines that I am. She said it would be interesting to know if the airline stewardesses, customs, airport agents, quarantine drivers are getting regular testing. Are they around arriving persons on a daily? Listen, Emily, not only that, at the end of the day, I understand that the taxi drivers, and a few people have messaged this and said this to me, people are getting in the taxi cabs and they are not even wearing a mask. Because remember now, they're allowing the persons, they're no longer being escorted. They're allowing them to take a private taxi and to head home with that private taxi. And I'm understanding that those taxis are not taxi drivers. They are not wearing masks. And I couldn't help but wonder how many of them are also not even sanitizing the taxi cabs properly when someone comes in and out. Because if you ain't got enough sense to wear a mask, I can't believe that you're actually wearing gloves, sanitizing, spraying down after each person leaves. Are any of those provisions in place? Have taxi drivers put up the plexiglass between them and their passengers? What measures have been taken? The last I heard, the BA flight comes in loaded, fully loaded, and everybody going to their respective taxi cabs and off they go. Travel Time Cayman has admitted with the last breach that yes, there are things that we need to improve upon. from the very way that the bracelet is being such a simple thing. But we were not getting it right. To me, this blows my mind. And so as Caymanians, I'm begging you to please wake up. We have a responsibility in this country to keep each other safe when it comes to this virus. And I feel like I have a responsibility on this program to highlight what is happening, the shortcomings that are so evident to anyone willing to think about it for a minute. And instead of us being busy with patting each other in the back and all these allocades and whatever that we're trying to give people, I mean, come on. Now listen, you're going to hear it here first. Let me just say this. I'm glad that you guys tune in, because as we get information, we do give it to you guys first, and then we will suss it out. Now, I can't go into overtime today because I've got a meeting this morning. But listen to what the government is doing. Lord Jehovah. So education, Juliana O'Connor Connolly has not said a word really about, the fight situation with the kids and their issues. There was an epic fight at UCCI with 2 girls last week as well. Everybody's lips sealed, not saying a word. However, she will be announcing today that in the education departments, they will be giving those individuals an extension of the public holidays by 2 weeks in January of remote learning. So your children got to go back to remote learning for 2 weeks in January to facilitate travelers traveling over the Christmas holidays. Now, folks, I'm a parent. Thank God she's only 4, so I don't have to deal with that as yet. So what we're saying is we're going to allow the numbers on the thing there, Mitzi, on the screen. We're going to allow teachers to travel during COVID, knowing that then they have to come back, go into quarantine. Hopefully they'll follow the rules because they're dealing with our children. And our children and their parents must now sacrifice 2 additional weeks in January. What if you're a parent that can't get 2 weeks off to be with your child to do this distance learning thing? Because you've already used up all your time and your child has to go to school. Folks, it makes no sense. May the 26th. Where's my gavel? Hold on. Let me get it. Oh, my apologies. Here we go. May the 26th, folks. It is right around the corner. And if we don't put better, sensible people in positions on this, and I don't care how much education they have, education does not equate to common sense policies. It can help, but it doesn't always help, because we have some of the most educated of them in place. This makes no sense at all. She was so worried about domestic partnerships that look like she forgot about everything else. She's dropped the ball and everything else. Folks, you have a deadline coming out for elections, by the way. I'm still trying to get a hold of, you guys know, I've been trying to get a hold of Mr. Wesley Howell. I've emailed, I've called, I've gone by. No response from Mr. Howell yet. We will continue to reach out to him because we have a lot of questions to ask. But in the meantime, I want you to remember January the 4th is a deadline. If you've not registered to vote and you're eligible to vote, people, get registered. At least you have the option to make a change in this country. If you need to change your address, do whatever you got to do, my good people, get on it. The system is failing us because the people we put in charge of the system, they are failing us. We don't have a huge say, but every 4 years, we got to say, and we better exercise that. People, enough is enough. Keep an eye out for the press release. All right. Neelas, thank you so much. Linda, thank you for your comments on that. And speaking of road deaths, unfortunately, the one on Thursday morning, that gentleman has succumbed to his injuries and he has died. Janet, I hate to tell you this, but this rapid testing would not eliminate quarantining at all. There are issues with rapid testing. It's not as effective. And as I've said before, there seems to be general misunderstanding. I don't know why this is, right? You can test negative today. And as long as you're within that quarantine period, that 14-day period, your negative test should not be of any comfort to you. It does not mean that you do not have the virus. It just means in this point in time, you have a test that says you're negative. The quarantining period, Janet, is a necessary requirement, and it has to be 14 days because that is the time that they have shown that if you don't have it if it's not showing up in a test by 14 days, chances are you don't have it. Anything else just doesn't work. So this rapid test only tells you, well, in this moment in time, you're not shedding enough of the viral load to get a positive test. It does not mean that you don't have the virus, and in 10 days, 13 days, or even 14 days, that you will not test positive. Why do you think in the past week we've had over 10 positive tests? All from travelers. What the government isn't telling people in order to address this issue, Linda, which is a very common misunderstanding, what the government is not telling people is how many people at the onset are testing negative, and then at day 14 are testing positive. See, that's the kind of information that our government should release to the general public, because then that allows people to understand, wow, all of these people tested negative upon arrival, but then by day 14, the viral load has increased. Even though they're asymptomatic, the viral load is still there for positive tests. I'm going to ask government the question again because it takes forever to get any responses from them. But I think, Janet, that will help a lot of people to really understand the importance of the 14 days. And it's a very common misconception. I get it every single day. I'm responding to people like, oh, aren't they testing when they come in? Why don't they? They are testing when people come in. But that is not enough. The 14-day quarantine period is necessary. So either we do away with the home quarantining and we continue to let people quarantine at a government facility where we have greater control. Okay, so we go back a step. Or if we're going to allow them to home quarantine, we fix all the gaps. Staffing, the technology clearly not working, stick a stake in the person's yard. There's tons of other things that you can do to make it tighter. It's not going to be perfect. And if someone is hell-bent on breaching the quarantine provisions, they're going to do it. And so that's where the tail end of having these fines of $10,000 or more becomes really, really important in the scheme of things. Folks, I got to go to court. I'm watching a few cases, not for myself, watching a few cases that are very important to update you guys about. So thank you so much, Mike, for your comment. We'll have to check into that. Daniel Blackman, what is that comment all about? Looks like you need to get blocked. I don't know what that is, but there you go. Don't come on here with your scamming comments or whatever, because we will just automatically block you. We ain't got time for that. We got enough scammers in real life walking around right here in the Cayman Islands. On that note, folks, have a safe day. I'm Skylar. Sorry that you had to be Jackass today, but you needed to think about this. Supposedly, she's now been taken to a government quarantine facility where she is in quarantine, and she'll have to pay the expense of that quarantine herself. Nobody can fault government for that. Let's just make sure that this one stays there and she doesn't become like the other couple who start to kick up, ooh, I'm privileged, and then all of a sudden they get let out. John Wick, be safe. Have a good day. Nicholas, thank you so much. Have a good one. Nicholas says that he thinks that the 2-week thing is fine. Make them go home. and host the online classes because they need to be with their families too. Well, I tell you what, it's a real kicker for someone who doesn't have the luxury of having an employer that is going to be all of that flexible with them. And that's a problem. You know, people don't have the time off. What are they going to do, Nicholas? If you're a parent and your employer says you can't take 2 weeks to work from home again to be with your kids, who's going to be with the kids? It creates a logistical nightmare for people. But anyway, we'll see. Be safe, everybody. Janet, be safe. We're all in this same boat together, folks. I only want the best for the Cayman Islands at the end of the day. Wake up. If you're not awake yet, you've got to wake up. And if you are awake, hashtag stay woke. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.
Magandang araw po mga kababayan, Joy Anglin po. Nabili na po ba ninyo ang dish pack ng Miracle Brokers? Up to 200 pounds kaya pong ilagay dito. Halina po kayo, Christmas na sa Pilipinas, tamang-tama po para sa mga ate at kuya. Halina po kayo dito sa Miracle Brokers. Miski ano, pwede pong ilagay dito sa box. Pera lang po ang jowa nyo.
Contact us at 949-5989 or email us at info@miraclebrokers.